Stop by to see who is Patricia M. Goins. Who is she as an author? What does she do? What's she about? And why should I be interested in her book called The Same? So, to make a long story short, I am originally from Columbus, Ohio. I graduated from Walnut Ridge. Went to Columbus State, even went to did some college at Central State University. So I've been here majority of my life. Probably about after I got divorced in my 30s, I ended up moving to Atlanta. And the crazy thing is, I never knew I could write, never knew I could sing, never knew I had any of those abilities before moving to Atlanta. So I was like a late bloomer, I guess you could say, in discovering, my ability to write or my gift for writing. So when I got to Atlanta, that bug, that whole energy down there is so creative. You know what I'm saying? That if you are a creative person and you've been stagnant and really pursuing it, it's going to bring it out because of all the stuff that's going on. So that's kind of like what happened to me. Went through an abusive relationship, ended up in a domestic violence shelter, and it was in that shelter that I wrote my first book, which is called This Can't Be Love. And I actually turned that book into a film, so you can actually look at it on YouTube. I think we released it last year, 2020, January 1st, and now it has like 60,000 views. It took us 7 years to film it, and so that's a big thing. So that's basically where the whole book writing thing came from. I've written 7 books. This is the last book that I wrote, and I was still going through that domestic violence system, as far as the counseling and stuff like that. Even in 2012, if anybody knows anything about people who have been in abusive relationships, a lot of times you end up, if you haven't healed or learned or whatever, you end up repeating that cycle in the next relationship, and that's kind of like what ended up happening. I was hard headed. It didn't sink in right away, but it was while I was in one of the domestic violence counseling sessions that there was a minister that was attached to that shelter. That counseling session, and I would go like every week. And one time when I went, she said, "God's about to give you a book and a dream." And when she said it, I'm like, okay. So every week that I would see her, I would go back there. She would ask me again, "Have you had the dream yet?" And I'm like, "No, but if I do, I'll let you know." You know what I'm saying? She kept asking me. But one night I did have the dream, and it was so vivid in my mind. Like, literally, it almost felt like I was in a movie theater, and I was watching this go scene by scene by scene by scene, and it was so dramatic that I immediately, when I woke up, I got a pen and a paper, and I started writing. And I started writing everything that came to my memory about this dream, because it was that dramatic, that colorful, that theatrical in my dream. So I wrote it all out by hand. But if anybody, and you can see some of my other writings if you go to my website, patriciagoinsbooks.com. I have, like I said, a total of 7 books. The other 6 are nothing like this. The first series, it was a 3-book series. This Can't Be Love, The Love House, and Ladies Delight. And it was all surrounding a domestic violence shelter. So it was like a series. And then the next book after that, I think, was Are You Ready to Open Your Gifts from God? And some other, I just was writing all kind of different stuff. I even wrote a book, Don't Judge Me. I just want to tell you right off the bat, don't judge me. I have a book called Swingers. And I know you'll probably think it's swingers, right? But it's much deeper than what it appears. And that began my journey of trying out other genres of writing versus just, the domestic violence type thing. So with that, it's really, it's really crazy. I actually started Swingers in a group called Cafe Mom. You ever heard of Cafe Mom? Anybody? There's a group called Cafe Mom, and they have different sections, kind of like Facebook. and they had one particular area that was for erotica. And so I started the book online, and everybody was adding to it, and it was fun. And then after it got to a certain point, I took it off, and then I created my own story and put it out. So it's called Swingers. But we had like 5,000 views. People was coming back to find out what was going to happen the next day. So that was fun. But this book right here is completely different from anything that I've ever written. And like I said, one of the biggest things is because it was given to me in a dream after being told that I was going to have this dream. So of course, when I went back to her again, I was like, I had the dream, But it was so different that I held on to it for 7 years. I wrote this in 2012, but I just was just like, is this something I should be releasing into that? I was like, what? I don't know. But then I just, it felt in my spirit in 2019. I was just like, it's time, And so the first time that I wrote it, I actually released it. I released it through Author House. Have any of you heard of Author House? So I released it through Author House. But I had already created my own cover before going to Author House. But with Author House, you have to choose their cover to produce it. So I didn't release it. I had it. But because of different reasons, with me just wanting to be more independent and not really wanting to go down that lane, I wanted to print it up under my own business, under my own company. So I went through it, did some changes, editing, whatever, and produced a new cover. So this particular book is actually coming from my company, ATW Media and Printing. And yeah, so to give you a background about the synopsis. The story. So I'm gonna read the back, because that's the easiest way to start. All right, Joseph Battle, a registered nurse can y'all hear me?
Vaguely.
Okay. Joseph, huh?
You're talking to Mike, sis.
Okay. All right, can you hear me?
Better.
Okay. Did y'all hear all that whole spiel, or is my lips just like moving?
It was like, you did good, though.
Okay. So, Joseph Battle, a registered nurse at Savannah Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia, has secretly loved his fellow colleague and best friend Mary Anderson since middle school. His dream of winning Mary's heart is destroyed when she falls in love and marries the handsome new neurosurgeon, Dr. Devin Sutton. After a nurse at Savannah Hospital becomes the 12th victim of a serial killer who leaves a symbol on all the victims, Joseph and his father discover that Dr. Sutton has a dark, hidden secret, a secret so deadly that it could destroy Mary, her unborn child, and all of humanity. So, by trade, I'm a nurse. That's what I went to school for in Columbus, Ohio, and I've been in the nursing field for probably about 25 years. So, the thought of writing it about a hospital and what nurses go through or what the medical staff go through came easy to me because I was just able to duplicate what I experienced in my own natural life as a nurse, in clinics. So, Pastor Joseph Battle. So let's break down the characters. Let's start with the father. It's always good to start with the dad, right? So Pastor Battle is actually Pastor Battle. He's a minister and he has a church. He has a church that's in Atlanta, Georgia. He was also a missionary, and so he went over to Mexico to do some missionary work. Right? It was while he was in that period of time when he was doing that he met Joseph's mother. Right? And so they got married, and he brought his pregnant wife back to. I'm just giving you a little bit of it. He brought his pregnant wife back to Atlanta, and he ended up marrying her. But at about 3, the mother got into a car accident, and so Joseph's father basically had to raise him by himself. So that's kind of like Pastor Battle. He's a single father, a minister, and he loves the Lord, and he loves his son, he loves his church family, and his congregation is a congregation that is a melting pot of people. It's not a congregation where it's just African Americans or just Caucasian, just Mexicans. It's a melting pot of people, and they all love him, because they love his ministry, they love who he is as a person. So that's Pastor Battle. His son, he didn't know anything different than just being a kid and just, loving life and being a part of the church. You know what I'm saying? He's a pastor's kid. So, and then he ended up becoming a nurse. But he always had a big crush on Mary. So, to flip to Mary, her parents, she is biracial. Her parents are biracial. She has biracial parents. And they moved to Atlanta when she was like, I think in the 6th grade, right? And so because they were spiritual as well, they ended up joining Pastor Battle's church. And that's how Joseph and Mary first met. They met when they were in middle school, but more so in church. And he was instantly smitten with her. He just thought she was beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Or she just thought she was. So, but he never had the guts to tell her. He just didn't tell her. So that's kind of like where it all comes from. Mary, she was kind of like a bad girl in school a little bit. Her parents threatened her one time, like, if you don't get it right, I'm gonna send you to your grandpa and grandma's farm. You know how it is as kids. The worst thing you want to do is go clean the chicken coop or something like that. Like, you getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, like that ain't something that we want to do. So she felt like, okay, it's better probably for me to go to Job Corps and get my LPN versus going to stay with grandma and grandpa because I'm not doing well in school or whatever. So she ended up going to Job Corps and she finished her schooling, became a nurse, and then her and Joseph both worked at the same hospital. So that's how they come together at the same hospital. So, although the story seems very just like a little regular love story, you know what I'm saying? Somebody, Bob got a crush on on Janet, or whatever. Just like a regular little love story. That's how it starts. Because I want you to understand and get to know the characters. You have to be able to understand Joseph's love for Mary. And how long he's been harboring this love. He's been for years, because they're grown now. He's a nurse. They're in their 20s, 30s. I think like late 20s, early 30s. So he's been loving her his whole life, but he's never told her. So I needed y'all to understand that love and that personality and who he was, so that you could, in your mind, when you're reading, visualize that. And then same with Mary, who has no idea that Joseph feels this way. She loves Joseph. That's her best friend. And so she doesn't, but she doesn't know that the level of love that he has for her. So for her, it's just she's having fun with her friends. She's out. She has a roommate named Lakita. Lakita's ghetto. I'm just telling y'all right now. Lakita's straight ghetto. But opposites attract. You like people. You love to hang around people who are different from you, especially if they are the highlight in the area that you are more shy. You know what I'm saying, or whatever, or reserved. So they're the perfect combination. Lakita is in love with her boyfriend Ed. But Ed is a hot mess, and usually Joseph has to bail Ed out because he's one of them ones that never had no money. You know how you take a friend with you and they can't never get in because they don't never had the money. You always got to fit the bill. You always got to feed them. That's kind of like how that relationship is between Joseph and Ed. They just he just always got to take care of him. So, but Lakita and Ed have that stormy, love again, off again type thing. They can't stand each other, but they love each other. And you better not be trying to talk to one of them because the other one go get jealous. One of them kind of things. So I wanted you to understand all of the characters, so that as the book starts changing, look, I'm calling it a movie already because they called me. Let me tell you something. When I published this book with Author House, when I say everybody, their mama, their cousin, their grandpa, Susie, be calling me about this book because they want me to, take it to a different level, or they want to market it, or they want to take it into a movie. All that. I'm to the point where I'm just like, I don't know that number, and I'm not answering you because they just call me that much. That's But everyone who has read it so far, they were just like, wow, because it takes you on a journey that you're not expecting because of the way it starts. It starts just like a regular old book, just a regular old, just a regular book. But as it progresses, then it gets into the part where you're like, and I don't want to tell too much of it because if I tell too much of it, then y'all won't need to read it. But it takes you on a journey into the sci-fi world. You know, I want to see how I can describe it without going too. If you've ever heard of near-death experiences where people say they've been to another world, you know, they've seen heaven or hell, they've gone to that area, you know, it takes you on that kind of a journey where you really are going outside of what you can see with your natural eyes. One of the in the front of it, when I redid it, I said a spiritual war between angels and demons that cannot be seen with the natural eyes. And the reason why I named that, first of all, the name symbol came to me in the dream, so it was always supposed to be called this. But the subtitle I added just recently because I'm thinking about the essence of the book, and even within our own everyday lives with what's been going on, you know, in the world. You know, a lot of what's been going on. I'm sorry. Let me see. Maybe it'll be. Oh, I can't. So I need to speak this over. All right. So, you know, a lot of what we see, it's like we see what we can see and understand with our human brain, but we all know that we don't use most of the capacity of our brain. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of our brain that we do not tap into. So as we go through everyday life, we can only see what's on the surface. You know, when things happen in the world or whatever, we can only go by what we saw or heard happen with our natural senses. But when I tapped into this book and in the dream, it took me on a journey that's beyond our natural senses, and it let me know that there's a spiritual warfare going on that we cannot see. And if you ever hear people saying, you know, I was in this bad situation, all of a sudden this person came from out of nowhere. I don't even know who they were. And they just showed up at the right place at the right time, and they helped me out of this particular situation, that if they had not stepped in at that exact moment, this would have happened, or that would have happened. Some tragedy would have happened. Everybody's heard that, right? Or you've seen videos of that. I truly do believe in this book, and the dream took me on a journey where it's like, there are angels that do walk amongst us. I mean, I'm sorry, if you, that's my belief. I can't, you know, and that's the journey that this dream took me on. That there are angels that walk amongst us, and just like there's good things that happen, bad things that happen, and sometimes those things are by forces that we cannot see. So that's basically what the journey that the symbol takes you on. It takes you on a journey on both sides of the plate. Some people might ask me, well, why did you use, you know, Joseph and Mary as the name for the lead characters? You know what I'm saying? But that was in the dream. Like literally, when I say to you, this all came from this dream. It really did. It all came from this dream. Knowing the name of the hospital, everything came. It was so specific that I was like, I needed to just write it. So I just wrote it how I saw it. So I guess, so just ask me, where would you like for me to read out of? Pick a number.
33.
Huh?
33.
33. Okay. So 33. Okay, so this is more towards the beginning. Okay. So actually, maybe it's better to start right here at the beginning so that you can understand when we get to page 30. I'll just read this chapter. Is that okay? Okay.
Start it out there.
Read into the mic, sister, when you read it.
Okay. I'm not doing good with this old mic thing. I think if I can get it to sit up like that, but I don't know. It's not working.
That's out of my field. I don't know nothing about that.
Yeah, what would normally keep it tight, and I don't see it. So. All right, so let's go back to 30.
Although it's chilly, it's a good night. It's a beautiful night, isn't it?
Okay. So this particular chapter is right when she has met the doctor. The doctor has walked into her life at this point. So, okay. After work, Mary decided to take the back roads instead of jumping on 75 South. She didn't feel like dealing with the rush hour traffic. She turned the dial on her car radio to 1100 a.m. so she could listen to On the Move Unscripted. It was her favorite radio talk show. She loved listening to Patricia M. Goins, Mr. Stout, and MBJ Live. They were so funny. They always had her laughing. She also loved listening to the independent music and the different guests that they brought on the show. Riverdale was about 45 minutes away from her job in Buckhead. As she drove home, her thoughts drifted to the new handsome doctor. There was something about the way Dr. Sutton had looked at her that made her feel like they would have a special connection. She was looking forward to working with him. Mary slowed her car down as she approached the Georgia 400 toll. She flipped 50 cents in the meter before advancing through the gates. Mary always felt gloomy when she went from the rich area of Buckhead to the rundown area of Riverdale. She promised herself that one day she'd be able to afford a house in Buckhead. Mary walked into her apartment, threw her keys and purse on the kitchen floor, on the kitchen counter, on the kitchen counter. Lakita was sitting on the couch with her open biology book and laptop while watching the Mary Pulver show. Their apartment was nicely decorated with leather furniture, a combination of artificial and real plants and African art. Mary was determined that no matter how shabby her apartment complex was on the outside, when she walked into her apartment, she wanted to feel like she was already living in Buckhead. "How was your day?" Lakita asked as she turned up the volume on the remote control. "Girl, I had a good and bad day. I got a speeding ticket this morning. That really pissed me off. But the good thing is I got a promotion at work. I'm the new nurse for a new doctor that's joining our neurology and surgery department," Mary stated as she washed her hands and then tossed a chicken and potato TV dinner into the microwave. "Wow, really? You got a speeding ticket? The police are always picking with black people. Well, congratulations on the promotion. You've been complaining a long time about not getting a raise," Lakita said without taking her eyes off the television. "Yep, and girl, this new doctor is fine too." "Oh, really?" It was obvious that Lakita was only half listening as she laughed at the latest edition of "I Know You're My Baby's Daddy" on the Maury show. Ugh, I said that right. "Girl, the Maury show is a trip today. This girl was on here showing out. She claimed that this guy was the father of her twin boys, and that she hadn't been with anyone else. I mean, she was calling them names. She was calling his mama names and acting crazy. But guess what? The test results came back to show that guess what? He was not the father." "I'm so embarrassed for her," Lakita said, laughing, shaking her head as she ran a long red polished acrylic fingernail over her fake eyelashes. Lakita was a beautiful, dark-skinned African-American woman. Lakita and Mary had been roommates and friends for almost 3 years. Lakita and Ed were already dating when Joseph first introduced them to Mary one night while attending a cabaret party. Lakita was so ghetto, but fun to be around. Lakita worked as a cashier at Kroger's while going to Georgia Perimeter College for her associates in nursing. Mary and Lakita had become good friends quickly, and since Mary was looking for a roommate and Lakita couldn't afford her own place on a part-time cashier's salary, becoming roommates seemed to fit nicely into both of their plans. "Is Joseph going skating tonight?" Lakita asked when a commercial came on. "Yeah, he said Ed's going too." "I don't care if Ed's going to be there. I'm so through with him," Lakita said, rolling her eyes. Ed and Lakita had a crazy on-again, off-again relationship. Mary couldn't understand why they were still together. Ed was known for messing around on Lakita, and Lakita was known for messing around on Ed. The crazy thing is they were both insanely jealous of each other and would flip out if they found out there was someone else. Their love affair was insane. "Oh, goodness. You two are at it again?" "No, I'm just not going to be putting up with his mess anymore," Mary decided not to ask any questions because she knew it would end up in a long 2-hour discussion, and she was too tired to listen. "I'm going to take a quick shower and nap, and so I can be ready for tonight. If you don't hear me moving around by 7 p.m., please come and wake me up. I'm pooped. I'm on 33. I'm pooped from staying out last night," Mary stated as she grabbed a TV dinner out of the microwave and a can of Sprite from the refrigerator before heading towards her room. Mary was awakened from her nap by the sound. Later, Mary was awakened from her nap by the sounds of Lakita yelling at someone on the telephone. Mary didn't need to ask who she was yelling at because she already knew it was Ed. Mary sat up in the bed and yawned as she stretched out her arms. She looked at the clock on her nightstand. It was almost 7 p.m. She got out of the bed and began looking in her closet when Lakita came crashing into the room. Lakita had a frown on her face as she came through the door. I was coming to wake you up, girl. Ed makes me so mad, she yelled as she plopped down on Mary's bed. Mary decided that she might as well let Lakita vent. What happened? She asked as she looked in the closet and pulled out 2 pair of jeans out of her closet. You know he was dancing with that tramp Stacy last night at the birthday party. I mean, he must think I'm stupid. I know he's messing around with her. Okay, but you were dancing with other guys last night too. I don't see the big deal. Yeah, but I didn't know any of those guys I danced with, and I've never slept with any of them. However, he cheated on me with that bitch. I mean,
I was all into it too, like, yeah, girl, too. And then I said, oh, girl.
I mean, how heartless can he be than to dance with her in front of me? Lakita, it could have been innocent. I mean, you're the one who he left the party with. Yeah, that's true. He did leave with me. Lakita's facial expression softened a little. I think you're making a big deal out of nothing. If he really wanted to be with Stacy, he could have gone home with her instead of you. Mary replied as she tried to decide if she was going to wear the black straight jeans with her blouse or the red jeans. Which one of these do you think looked best with this shirt I bought from Rainbows? The red or the black? Mary asked as she held both the pairs of jeans in front of her roommate to inspect. The black ones. I guess you're right. Maybe I am tripping for nothing. I mean, it's not like they were slow grinding on the dance floor. Well, let me go find something cute to wear, Lakita said as she walked out the door. Those two are crazy, Mary mumbled under her breath as she pulled out the ironing board from her closet. Mary was tying her tennis shoes when Lakita walked back into her room. Okay, so what do you think? She asked as she slowly turned around so Mary could get a complete 360-degree look at her outfit. Lakita was very pretty. She had smooth, blemish-free, dark chocolate complexion, deep dimples in both cheeks, and light brown eyes that seemed to sparkle in the sun. Not to mention that her body always had men drooling. Mary never understood why Lakita always wore so much makeup. To Mary, Lakita was covering up her natural beauty. The outfit Lakita had chosen consisted of black tights, a black and turquoise midriff shirt, and showed off her flat stomach, belly ring, and plenty of cleavage, and a pair of black stilettos. Mary always dressed like she was going to the strip club. That's cute. A little too revealing for my taste, but cute, Mary replied as she finished tying her shoelaces. Ed loves when I wear stuff like this. He said it turns him on, Lakita laughed as she walked over to the mirror to admire herself. Okay, well, I'm ready to go, Mary stated as she pulled her roller skates out of the closet and walked toward the bedroom door. So Sparkles is a big skating rink in Atlanta. So some of the places that I refer to are real places because those are places that are free. And skating is a big thing in Atlanta. I don't know how big it is in Ohio, in Columbus. Okay, but it's real big in Atlanta. The Sparkle skate parking lot was packed as usual. It took Mary and Lakita 15 minutes to find a place to park. They ended up having to park down the street. As they walked closer toward the entrance, Lakita was getting a lot of attention for her outfit from guys who were hanging outside the skating rink. This seemed to make Lakita proud as she put a little more strut in her walk. Joseph and Ed were standing near the cashier booth waiting on them. Just like Lakita said, Ed's eyes seemed to light up like a Christmas tree when he saw Lakita walking toward him. Whatever beef the two were having seemed to have disappeared into thin air as they embraced and kissed in front of everyone. Joseph and Mary both started laughing as they watched the two lovers. Those two need to be on television, Joseph laughed. I know, right? Mary giggled. Joseph paid for everyone to enter the skating rink. Joseph also volunteered to pick up the tab whenever they went out. Ed was always in between jobs and never seemed to have any money. The music was booming as the DJ played the latest hits. The skating rink was packed. Some of the more experienced skaters were doing all kinds of cool tricks on their skates. Mary was the first to put on her skates and hit the floor. Joseph loved watching Mary skate. She was just so sexy to him. Lakita soon followed Mary onto the rink floor. Ed walked over to Joseph and stood beside him. Man, when are you going to stop acting like a scared punk and ask Mary out on a date? Ed asked. Ed had always been the aggressive type. If he saw a woman he wanted, he didn't waste any time letting her know. He just couldn't understand what Joseph was afraid of. I'm not scared. I'm just waiting for the right moment. That's all, Joseph said defensively. Man, you're going to wait around until she ends up getting with someone else. She isn't dating anyone right now. If you're going to make your move, now is the time, he said as he slapped Joseph on the back before stepping onto the skating floor. Joseph watched as Mary skated around the ring. Maybe Ed was right. Joseph thought to himself, maybe tonight was the night to let Mary know his true feelings. They had fun skating until the wee hours of the morning. Everything was fine until a guy decided he wanted Lakita to slope skate with him and refused to take no for an answer. When he first tried to flirt with Lakita, she graciously turned him down. But after the guy couldn't seem to understand the word no, things seemed to get ugly. The guy kept grabbing her hand and trying to pull her onto the skating floor. When Ed caught wind of what was going on, all heck broke loose. Hey man, didn't she say no? Get your damn hands off my girl, Ed yelled in the guy's face as the veins in his neck began to bulge. Man, you need to get out of my face and mind your business. I ain't talking to you, the guy yelled back. And what are you going to do about it if I don't? Ed challenged. Ed was an African American and in the color of black coal, about 6 feet tall, 250 pounds. He used to play football in college and had a chance of going pro until he injured his knee during a game. His temper was no joke, and when he was angry, the other guy was half his size. The guy must have realized that Ed was about to whip his tail because he backed down. Whatever, man. Hey, you can have this. The guy didn't get to finish his sentence before Ed balled up his fist and hit the guy dead in his mouth. The guy's skates caused him to hit the floor hard. Blood flew everywhere. A crowd of bystanders started yelling and pulling out cell phones. Ain't that something everybody want to pull out? Nobody want to help. They just want to pull out cell phones to record the fight. Before the guy could get off the ground, security had grabbed Ed and escorted him out of the skating rink. Joseph, Mary, and Lakita snatched off their skates, grabbed their things, and followed them out the door. Once outside, Lakita ran up to Ed as security guards were releasing him with a warning. Are you okay, baby? Did you hurt your hand? Lakita asked as she grabbed his hand and inspected it. Yeah, I'm fine, boo. They hugged and kissed. Hey, Joseph, can you drop me and Lakita off at my house? Ed asked as they began walking towards the parking lot. Sure, Joseph replied. He had planned on telling Mary how he felt about her, but decided that tonight wouldn't be the right night. He walked Mary to her car before walking back to the Lovebirds to take them to Ed's house. When Mary got back home, she quickly took a shower and then laid down. Once again, her mind began to drift back to Dr. Saki before falling asleep. There was something special about him, and she couldn't wait to see him again on Monday. Sunday morning, well, I ain't gonna go into it because it's long. So anyway, thank you. So the beginning of it is just a regular love story, and it flows in that way, and you get to know who the characters are before all the craziness. Dr. Salton, who is the doctor, the new doctor. So let me say this: Pastor Battle is a Caucasian pastor minister, and Joseph's mother was Mexican. So I do a lot of interracial and combined because I don't know I think the reason why I did this because my hometown is Columbus, and you know, in Columbus we live together. 80s and 90s, it wasn't really about black, white, green, yellow like that. We all loved each other. It was nothing for us. But when I went to Atlanta, I saw a whole different scenery. It was really like truly divided. You know what I'm saying? Where the Caucasian community was over here, and the African American community was over here, and there was no real not. There was some, but it's so different. You can tell it's the South. So that was a big shock to me because I grew up in Walnut Ridge, and I went to school in the 80s where we were being bused in. We were integrated. It wasn't nothing. It was nothing. And I'm still that way. I still have that in me. Like, I don't look at color. You know what I'm saying? Even down there. Like, I'm looking at, like, what is wrong with y'all? You know what I'm saying? Because don't y'all all know that we all got one gene that's the same? We all cousins. And whether you want, if you believe the Bible, and it started with 1 and 2, then all them other people's cousins, right? Am I right? So that's how I look at it. So I made the book to be where it's not, even though the main character may be interracial or they might be black, and I say who they are because I want you to understand that this is not about division or color. It's not. It's a story where I'm using a melting pot of people. Dr. Stockton is a Caucasian doctor. You know, she's biracial. Her roommate's African American. You know, Joseph has Mexican in him. Like I did that on purpose. But Dr. Stockton comes in at a time when the doctor before him had died, you know, mysteriously, and they don't even know why. So here comes, you know, this good-looking doctor, and if anybody's ever, you know how you walk, the new person come in, and you're like, oh, snap. You know, everybody like, oh, look at this doctor, you know. So that's kind of like the energy that everybody was like, he was the handsome new doctor, you know. But as the story floats on, that's when things start to change because there is a serial killer running. And this serial killer is basically doing all of treating all of the victims the same. They're leaving symbols to let you know that it's the same person. And one of the things they're doing is they're carving some type of signature S on all the victims. So they know that this is a serial killer. And so they're going up and they're in this time where they're kind of scared, they don't know what's going on, people are popping up dead and all that kind of stuff. I think that when it hits their hospital and it happens to a nurse that they know, then all of a sudden the whole game then changes. It's like, oh my gosh, it's not just something we're hearing about on the news. I knew her. You know, we took report together. You know, we took care of the same patients, all that kind of stuff. So it goes from regular to science fiction real quick. It really does. That's the only way I can put it. It goes from the normal to all of a sudden you like, what the hell am I? and it has a deep meaning to it. If any of you have ever seen the show The Matrix and how there's a lot of symbolism in that, in those series, you know, it has the overall story, but if you look deep down in the middle of, there's more to it. It's kind of like that. So that's basically, did I overdo my time? That's basically what.
It's 7-Eleven.
Huh?
7-Eleven.
Oh, okay. Well, that's basically what the symbol is about. It was given to me in a dream, and I was already told by a minister that I was going to get this dream. So I feel like because I was foretold about this, and then it came to me in this dream in such a graphic and visual way, to the point where I was just like, I almost felt like a robot. Like I was just writing down everything because it was just like, I can't explain it. But if you're someone who, when you read, you visualize. If you're able to read and when you read, you visualize whatever's going on. It was like that, but it was just like HD. Like it was just. So, and the fact of the time period that I wrote it versus when I was told to release it, which was 2019, right before the whole world changed. You know what I'm saying? The whole world, our world changed as we know it from 2019 to 2020, you know, to where we are now. Where we're all sitting here like, you know, don't get too close to me type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever, like, And so he had me release it then. But this is my first, in all honesty, this is the first book signing that I've done for this book. With even when I had it as with Author House, which I think you can still get it on Amazon, the first version. Um, and I think somebody gave it like 5 stars or something, like, somebody. But even be, e- even before then, I had never done any book signings. This is the first book signing that I have done for the revised revision with my own cover, with my own company in Columbus, Ohio. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really excited because I love first. So y'all, my first people that I'm able to actually, first audience that I'm actually able to introduce. So I feel like there's some kind of meaning there's probably more meaning in this book than I even realized because of the way it came to me and because of the timing of when I was instructed to release it. Because I had it, like I said, I held it for 7 years. I had this manuscript for 7. I'd already written 6 other books, so putting it out wasn't nothing because I could do that in my sleep. But I felt like, I don't know, there's a reason. I don't know. And then even now, if it wasn't for the Ohio History Connection, I probably would have never republished it. I only republished it because they offered me to come and speak. And when I was going to get the copies from Author House, they were too expensive. And I was just like, hey, let me let me do it myself. And that was a challenge for me because I knew I was supposed to in the beginning, but I was too afraid. So what I would want to say to all of you that are sitting here, whatever dreams that you have, and I don't believe in accidents. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that everybody is at the assigned place that they're supposed to be at that exact moment. That's how I feel. So what I'm going to say is what's in my heart to say is to any of you who have a dream about anything, I don't care what it is, and I don't care what age you are, at the time when you're wanting to do it, or how long ago it was when you first came up with the idea, or the dream, or the vision, or the goal, whatever it is. As long as you're getting up in the morning and you're waking up and you still have your mind, your body, your spirit, and you're still able to do whatever that was, then I would encourage you. In fact, I would beg you to do it. Leave your footprints in the sand. Leave your electronic or your business, or leave your things for the next generation that's going to need whatever it is that you have to offer, or because whatever it is that you're holding on to, why are you holding on to that? That was given to you to share with the world because somebody, somewhere, is going to be blessed by that something that you have not had the faith to step out and do yet. And that was me. I was afraid. I was fearful. Like, I may not be able to do it right. I may not come out right. I may not look right. I was all these reasons, all these excuses. But the Ohio History Connection gave me the ability to go ahead and do something that I always wanted to do, but was too afraid. And I'm glad I did because it came out good. I think the cover. In fact, I actually love this cover better than the first. And so with the cover, there's a lot in this cover, right? So this is the city. This represents the city. Where we live, the place. Whether it's Ohio or Georgia or Mississippi, wherever, that's the city, right? And then this is the angel. This is the angel that basically has been assigned to look out for the city. The people in the city, protection. The angels. It represents, like I said, the angels that walk amongst us that we don't know. So that's what that is. And then this dark area right here that you may not be able to see is almost like the dark energy. The things that we say are responsible for in the spiritual realm, the things that we say are responsible for the bad things that happen, or what do they say? Wickedness and powers of principality, that kind of stuff. This represents the dark energy that the angel is protecting the people in the city from. And then the symbol, I don't know why God gave me this name. I don't know. I don't know. I just knew as soon as I seen it, I knew that's what it was supposed to be. So I don't know if there's a spiritual meaning, a symbol like message, or it's just something that just was. I can't even really explain to you why. But this was the original cover before I produced it through Author House, and Yeah. When you read the book, you're gonna understand what I mean when I say it takes you from your everyday to all of a sudden you're in a whole new realm. You're in a whole new world
So where
with
can you
things that you
purchase?
normally would never see.
So where can you purchase the book at?
The Ohio Center. They have they go to the Ohio Center, and they said that if you bring it back, I'll autograph it. So let me take questions. Yes, ma'am.
Is that the only symbolic dream you've had? Have you had others?
This is the first one I've ever had like this. When I wrote my first book, This Can't Be Love, I could see me writing it as a dream. I mean, I could see it when I was writing it, I could see it being a movie, which is why I was so adamant about turning it into a movie because I always had that desire. But this is the first and only book that I've ever dreamed about and literally woke up and wrote everything that I read in the dream.
Was it one of those, like you forgot some stuff and then you're like, oh yeah, that happened too, and wrote it down more?
You know what? That may have happened at the period of time once I got to the computer. So the first part I wrote out by hand. And so all that came out here. But then once I actually sat down at the computer, it's almost like the computer I was just there. This was me. Like, hey, what's going on? Y'all, it was just like I was just. And so probably that's when those things that maybe I had forgotten originally, or when I had to fill in the story came. Yeah. The outline came in the dream, but I had to, of course, add things to make it to a story or whatever. So I remembered the whole outline of the dream. That's probably better to say. And then when I started typing, I filled in so that it could all make sense. Anybody else? Anybody else have a question? No question?
Nah.
How about you? You have a question?
Are you working on another book now?
So this is the first book in the sequel. So there's another book that's going to come out that is, and I haven't written it yet, but it is my plan. And so that there's a part 2 to this. That was always planned to be a part 2.
You think you're going to go in this direction more than the previous romance direction? Or maybe both.
You know what? I don't know because I just write what hits me.